Hey everyone, welcome back to all my listeners. This is episode 3 in season 13. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. My name is Sonal Patel, and this is the Paint the Medical Picture podcast series. All right, you guys, let's go. What am I going to be talking about today? It's going to feature Newsworthy for the 2025, that's right, the 2025 CPT code set that has been issued by the American Medical Association. So I know I can't wait for my code book to actually arrive. Now, in my Trusty tip, I'm going to be bringing back to basics on the podcast. I'll be going over the SMRC and what on earth is that. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and close out and round out today's episode with a remarkable quote on insights and wisdom by Edmund Burke. Now, today's episode is sponsored by HCPro. This September, harvest big savings with Actis and HCPro boot camps. Are you ready to elevate your career? Actis and HCPro boot camps offer expert instruction designed to give you the practical skills and insights to excel in the fields of CDI, coding, and Medicare compliance. And with HCPro's exclusive seasonal sale, there's never been a better time to invest in your professional growth. Now, for a limited time only, there are live and virtual online bootcamp formats. Our buy one, get one 50% off. Enroll in one course and get another at half price. Simply apply the coupon code SONAL50 during your checkout. And if you prefer an immersive hands-on learning experience, HCPro's live in-person bootcamp format is now 30% off. There are so many classes to choose from for the remainder of this year, so don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to save. Go ahead and apply the coupon code SONAL30 during your checkout process. Now, don't miss out on expert-led training, actionable knowledge, and a flexible learning environment tailored to fit your schedule and your learning styles. Now, you have to act fast because this sale is ending at the close of this month, September 30th. Now, HCPro and Actis bootcamps are the training you all need to advance your career, and everything is available in the formats that best suit your learning styles. So harvest savings and your professional success by registering today. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so now this is what we've all been waiting for in Newsworthy, right? In the fall season. So the AMA has just released that new 2025 code set. That means that those books should be mailed out very, very soon for us to prepare for the code's effective date of January 1st of 2025. Now, there are 420 overall updates in the CPT 2025 code set, including 270 new codes, 112 deletions, and 38 revisions. The CPT code set continues to expand in the new areas of medicine, with proprietary laboratory analyses assigned to the largest proportion of new codes, a whopping 37%. Now, mostly these are for novel genetic testing. There are also Category 3 CPT codes for emerging medical services that are accounted for about a third of the new codes, or 30%. Now, updates to the CPT code set are considered through an open editorial process managed by the CPT editorial panel, which is an independent body convened by the AMA that collects broad input from the healthcare community and beyond to ensure CPT content reflects the demands of a modern healthcare system. This rigorous editorial process keeps the CPT code set current with contemporary medical science and technology so it can fulfill its vital role as the trusted language of medicine today and the code to its future. Now, key updates in this CPT 2025 code set include digital medicine. There's also key updates for remote therapeutic monitoring, those RTM services that were editorially revised. So keep that in mind. CPT code 98975 was updated to include digital therapeutic intervention, while CPT codes 98976 through 98978 were revised to include device supply for data access or data transmissions to support RTM of patients. Now, there's also new CPT codes in the augmented artificial intelligence, or AI. Be mindful that the AI taxonomy introduced back in 2023 has been implemented in Category 3 CPT codes to classify artificial intelligence, medical services, and procedures as assistive, augmentative, or autonomous, based on the work performed by the AI application on behalf of the physician or the other qualified healthcare professional, the QHP. Now, there are 7 Category 3 codes that have been established for AI augmentative data analysis involved in electrocardiogram measurements. And those are in our CPT code 0902T as in Tom, as well as in 0932T as in Tom. There's also codes for medical chest imaging in CPT codes 0877T through 0880T. Again, that's T as in Tom, as well as image-guided prostate biopsy code, that is 0898T as in Tom. Now, there are also new codes in the general surgery section, one of my favorite sections of the CPT codebook. Now, there were updates made to CPT's general surgery section to reflect novel approaches in skin grafts for wound care and recovery. And they range from CPT code 15011 through 15018, and advancements in surgical techniques for the elimination of tumors within the abdomen. And those include CPT codes 49186 through CPT code 49190. All right, and now it's time for my best practice tips in Trusty Tip. So let's go ahead and get back to basics. I know I haven't featured that particular Trusty Tip section for a couple of seasons, but I thought it's time to bring it back because I wanted you all to remember what the SMRC program is, right? I have talked about it in past seasons, but let me remind my audience what it is. The SMRC program is the Supplemental Medical Review Contractor, SMRC, and that contractor is Noridian. Now, let's get into a little bit more background on what they do and why. Now, Noridian Healthcare Solutions, LLC, I'm just going to call them for short here, Noridian. They were selected by CMS to conduct nationwide medical reviews as directed by CMS. Noridian conducts nationwide medical reviews for Part A, Part B, and for DME in accordance with all applicable statutes, laws, regulations, national and local coverage determination policies, and coding guidance to determine whether Medicare claims have been billed in compliance with coverage, coding, payment, and billing practices. Now, such reviews are assigned through the CMS formal notifications and focus on analysis of national claims data issues identified by federal agencies such as the Office of Inspector General, that's the OIG, as well as the Government Accountability Office, that's the GAO, as well as CMS internal data analysis, and the Comprehensive Error Rate Testing, or CERT program, as well as professional organizations and or analysis reports such as First Look Analysis Tool for Hospital Outlier Monitoring. For short, that's called the FATHOM report. And finally, also the Program for Evaluating Payment Patterns Electronic Reports. Those are PEPRs. Now, CMS determines review topics and timeframes, and they assign the focused project to the SMRC. Again, that contractor is Noridian, via a formal notification process. Now, Noridian sends affected providers and suppliers an additional documentation request. Again, that ADR letter that I know I've talked about here on the podcast for a number of years. And that ADR, upon receipt of returned medical records and or supporting documents, they then conduct the review based on the analysis of national claims data and in accordance with statutory, regulatory, and sub-regulatory coverage, coding, payment, and billing requirements. Now, some of those project review types. There's something called the Healthcare Fraud Prevention Partnership, or the HFPP support review. And that review is going to be based on fraud, waste, and abuse trends that are identified by the HFPP. There's also a project review type called the Program Integrity Support Review, or the PI Support Review. Now, that's going to be focusing on claims review focused on possible falsification or other evidence of alterations of medical record documentation, including, but not limited to, obliterated sections, missing pages, inserted pages, whiteout, and excessive late entries. Evidence that service billed for was actually provided and or provided as billed, or patterns and trends that may indicate potential fraud, waste, and abuse. Now, there's also a project review type called the Provider Compliance Group Review, or the PCG Review. Now, this is when a claim review is based on evaluation of beneficiaries' information and supporting medical records to ensure that payment is made only for services that meet all Medicare coverage, coding, and medical necessity requirements. Now, in this week's episode, I simply wanted to focus on one current SMRC project. There are a handful, but I wanted to go over one very current SMRC project, and that is number 01-111. And it is titled OIG Opioid Use Disorder Treatment Notification of Medical Review. Now, the SMRC is conducting a post-payment review of claims for Medicare Part B opioid use disorder, or OUD, services that are billed with dates of service from January 1st of 2022 through September 1st of 2022. Now, this notification includes the reasons for the review, documentation that will be requested in the additional documentation request, that ADR letter, as well as resources providers and suppliers may wish to consult with when submitting claims. Now, the background here is that the OIG, that Office of Inspector General, they published a report in report number A-09-22-03005 titled, quote, Medicare made $17.8 million in potentially improper payments for opioid use disorder treatment services furnished by opioid treatment programs, end quote. Now, in that report, the OIG conducted an audit on $2.1 million worth of Medicare Part B OUD claims and identified potentially up to $17.8 million worth of improper payments to opioid treatment programs, or OTPs. Now, the reason for that review that they conducted was in a response to that OIG report, right? This is why the SMRC, the Noridian, is conducting this review. Now, the SMRC is tasked to perform data analysis and conduct medical record reviews on claims billed with OUD Healthcare Common Procedure Coding System, or those HCPCS codes, right? For G2067, G2068, G2069, G2074, G2078, and or G2079, billed with dates of service from January 1st, 2022 through September 1st of 2022. So the SMRC will conduct medical reviews in accordance with applicable waivers, flexibilities, statutory, regulatory, sub-regulatory, and coding guidance. Now, some trusty tip for must-haves and documentation requirements include history and physical reports. So be sure to be including your medical history and the current list of medications. Another trusty tip is include the beneficiary's medical records, which may include prescribing or ordering practitioner medical records, hospital records, nursing home records, counselor notes, therapy notes, that are all sufficient to evidence that the services provided are reasonable and medically necessary. Also, your medical record documentation to support the dates of service billed on the claim. Also, try to include your physician and your non-physician, those NPP, all of those orders or the evidence of the intent to order, if that's applicable. And then also documentation to support the medical necessity of the service billed. Now, also try to include that initial evaluation, that provider H&P, right? That history and physical, the start of therapy, or when that biopsychosocial assessment occurred, as well as, of course, be sure to include signed and dated treatment plans with any updates that have been made to include the current dates of service under review. Now, remember to read your ADR in its entirety and submit exactly what the SMRC is requesting as it applies to the claims they are needing to review in your particular situation. And finally, I focus Season 13 Spark on insights and wisdom. I want this 13th season Spark to be filled with our world's thought leaders, writers, artists, philosophers, everyone who inspires us with their insights and their wisdom. So, in this week's inspiring quote in Spark is from Edmund Burke. Never, no, never did nature say one thing and wisdom another. So very true, right? This quote is truly thought-provoking and still applies in today's world of climate change and environmental crisis. Edmund Burke's insights from the 1700s still prove to be insightful. His words are wise, even as he shared thoughts and urged his audience way back then to, quote, not to commit waste on the inheritance, hazarding to leave to those who come after them a ruin instead of a habitation, end quote. I am so happy that Edmund Burke's Spark still inspires so many. All right, you guys, that wraps up today's episode. So let me know what you're all up to this fall season. I see the leaves changing up here where I am, even though the weather is still pretty blazing hot. But because it gets cooler in the nights, the tips of my trees are turning reds, oranges, yellows. Simply a delight. I can't wait for the landscape to change to be aglow in fall colors. Now, I know I just spent a wonderful weekend at an art show, and that always inspires me and keeps my mood bright and happy. So let me know what you guys are all up to in the fall season. I know I'm already happily stuffing my face with those caramel apples and pumpkin spice everything. Makes me so happy. All right, you guys, I wish you all an amazing and very, very happy week ahead. Thank you guys so much for listening on today's episode, and I hope every week with me brings you closer to helping your providers paint a masterpiece. See you next Wednesday.